Really for punting, especially here at Michigan, everything's pretty much directional operation time and directional punting. So really just putting the ball, where we want to put it, where the returner can't get to it. Basically, just I've tried to improve a lot on that. Increase field position, and the better chance for our defense.
Who's been snapping for you?
Main snapper is Cameron Cheeseman.
Okay.
He's been really reliable. I think one of the best long snappers in the country. Big frame, so he's perfect for what we do here, pro style.
When he snaps it to you, do you care about the rotation and where you get it, or is that only for
yeah,
field goal kicks and stuff?
No, it's important. I mean, you want it kind of in like your torso range, but he's pretty accurate. I mean, we don't really have any trouble with that anymore. No, he's a really accurate snapper. So anywhere around the chest area, he gives it pretty consistent. So.
As far as practice, are you guys working together pretty much the whole time, even when other stuff's going on? Or
Yeah,
always?
usually we're all together. All the kickers, punters, snappers are together doing practice, and then we are, of course, with the team during the team reps, full punt, kickoff, or field goal and stuff like that. But yeah, usually most practice we're just snapping at each other.
Have you been taking snaps from Trey Harper too?
Yeah. Trey's been doing really well too. He came in here from Duquesne. He's doing a 5th year here. He's pretty consistent. He's a good snapper. He's just still getting used to the blocking scheme. Blocking pro style versus blocking spread punt, where the snapper can just free release down the field. It's a lot different when you have to take on a guy in a rush. So, but he's coming along.
In high school, did you have was it a different guy who snapped who also had a different position on the team? He wasn't a designated snapper, was he for you? Or?
In high school, yeah, I think, my snapper in high school was also a linebacker, but he was also a pretty good snapper. Could just snap actually with one hand back. But yeah, basically the same objective. Snapping in the area you can catch it, And in high school, there's not a lot of good snappers in high school.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. If
So you've had trouble with a few snaps before in high school?
In high school, no. I tried always catching the snap is the first objective, So.
Is there anything quirky about your pregame or practice routine at all that you would say?
Pre-game or practice, nah. I just like to, just mentally getting into it. I think for especially kicking and punting and just any position, just the mental game is just as important, as the physical game. So just getting your mind right, visualizing is really important. I think for all specialists, for us, just going in your mind, snap to kick. You're doing it in 1.5 seconds basically once you get the ball. So kind of just taking that through your mind every time, before the punt or before the game is what I'm going through usually just in my head.
Do you watch other punters at all and see kind of pick up some things from other punters at all?
Yeah. No, I watch other punters. We watch a lot of NFL film. So you can watch those guys all day. But I also like watching a lot of other college punters and seeing what other guys are doing because everyone's different. You're doing the same thing, but the steps are different or the drop is different. It's very tiny things that normal people don't really realize. But when it comes to kicking and punting, it's they are very these things have a weighing impact on how you kick or punt the ball. So kind of those things you watch for, see what people are doing.
What do you think you are the best at?
I think I'm pretty good at punting with wind. I think that's kind of what's important about being at Michigan is because we play in, I'd say, the windiest conference in college football. So being a Big Ten punter or kicker is definitely not something that's easy. And I think that I've just been able to learn, through failure. How to get used to punting in wind or when you're back there and the conditions are changing or something on the field, something's changing. You just gotta basically rely on your technique at the end of the day.
How do you reflect on last season, and when did you get a sense there would be a record-setting All Big Ten type of season for you?
Last season, I don't know. I just kind of went through my daily grind. I didn't really think anything of it until towards the end of the season. I realized once I was actually looking at what we were averaging in net, and I was like, oh, okay, so it picked it up a little bit. But I didn't really realize I tried not thinking about what the average would be until after the bowl game, and I was like, okay, well, I'm happy for myself, but I'm not gonna give myself too much credit. There's a lot of people, a lot of credit to be given to the punt team as well. So.
How's Brad doing and recovering and getting back?
Yeah, no, Brad's doing really well. He's back. He's recovered. He's punting really well, I'd say, for having an injury like that. I give him a lot of credit. But yeah, no, he's doing well. We got George, who's another younger punter. He's doing very well. So those two are at it every day, you know, competing, and I'm, you know, competing with them too. So we're all kind of making each other better, and it's great to have a guy like Brad back, because I personally think, you know, we have the best unit in the Big Ten for sure. I can say that, and I think with all the guys we have, all the depth we have, it just makes it that much better, and it just makes us better every day competing with each other.
How does a punter evaluate his year? I mean, isn't it a misconception that distance is, I mean, you're not always looking at the distance average.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty important nowadays, like where, you know, they punt it after the punt, where they return it to. So that's why directional, you know, where you're placing the ball is important. We just don't want to kick it in the middle of the field all the time and give the returner, you know, the field. But, I mean, it really comes down to like net and average, I'd say. I mean, both of those combined. I mean, how far you're punting it, plus, you know, are they returning it far? You know, where are you placing the ball? How much hang time does it have? You know, there's a lot of factors, but it's really pretty simple. I mean, you know, most people can see, did you kick it far or did you not kick it far? You know.
At what point in your life did you realize you wanted to be a punter?
I'd say towards, you know, junior year of high school, I realized I wanted to play in college. I did it all throughout high school, but I realized, like, once I got to, I think, my third year, that I was like, okay, I think I want to play at the next level.
What kind of mentality is it to kind of play a position where people don't necessarily notice when you're doing well, so to speak?
Yeah. Well, mentality, I think, it really doesn't change if you look at it, I think, like, from a quarterback or a kicker or a punter or even a long snapper. I think you just got to really commit to doing your thing, and if people don't realize, I mean, it's just not a glorified position. That, I mean, what are you gonna, can't really do anything about that. But, like, I mean, the mental game, it's just got to be strong all the way around. You can't really think about whether people are going to realize, wait, are you doing bad? Are you doing well? You just got to stick to what you're doing. I mean, if it's working, if what you're doing is working, then keep it up. I mean, if it's not, then something's got to change.
Is that something you ever had to learn to deal with, or did it kind of come natural?
Yeah, no, I've definitely had to deal with it. I mean, after my sophomore year, I had to definitely come over some hurdles to, you know, realize what I was doing wrong, whether it was from a physical aspect or a mental aspect, and eventually just was able to overcome it. Just basically just working. I mean, doing it on my own, realizing, you know, what's important to think about, you know, what's important to do. Basically, simple stuff that, I mean, usually people wouldn't understand, but it's really more, definitely comes down to more of a mental game, I think.
So, like, what were those things?
Specifically mentally?
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, when I looked at it, I was like, you know, there's really at this point, there's just nothing to lose, really. Yeah, you don't really have much to lose. And maybe it gets to a point where people really think, yeah, you have a lot to lose, but at the end of the day, like, it's a game. I mean, we're out here to have fun. We're out here to win games. I mean, when you think about it like that, you want to have fun, you want to win games. I mean, that sounds like a lot of fun, doesn't it? I mean, at the end of the day.
The visualization.
Yeah, the visualization. Yeah, that's really important. Yeah, going. I mean, it's really like kind of syncing your mind to what your body's doing. I mean, you're doing something. It's emotion. It's not really. It's like something you're trying to repeat over and over again. You know, whether the conditions are different, whether, you know, the teams we're playing. It's not really who we're playing. It's not really, you know, what the conditions are. It's always you against yourself. That's what it ends up being.
Was there a challenge for you to be able to, like, get to that point? Like, that is kind of a difficult skill to master, right?
Yeah, it is that is a difficulty, and I don't know. It just kind of came to me, and I'm not, you know, gonna say like, oh, I have all the tools necessary, you know, mentally. I'm just saying, like, I've gotten better at it, you know, in order to play and execute, you know, punts that are important, help us win games. So I don't know, it's definitely a learning curve, just like with every position. I mean, there's just a learning curve, but I think with special teams, there's just more of a mental learning curve, because it is more of you against yourself. It's you against, you know, what your abilities are, how you're trying to improve yourself, your own motion every single time. So.
Who have your gunners been, and how are they doing? Have you been working that far?
Yeah, no, we have a lot of kids rotating on the gunner position, but our gunners are definitely a lot improved from last year. They definitely know their landmarks better. They know, you know, how to deal with the returner, how to deal with the goal line, so we can hopefully, you know, not give up so many touchbacks as we did last year. That's kind of the key. You know, catching the coffin punts, you know, so they don't roll in the end zone or stuff like that. We've been working on a lot. But I personally don't know the set gunner, you know, the starters, but because we have a lot of kids rotating. There's a lot of fast kids on this team. So
Who are some of them that have been
You know, Tariq, you know, Tyler Cochran, Dax has been in there, you know. So there's a lot of kids. There's a lot of fast kids.
If you have a bad punt, practice or game, do you know like right away what happened? Like and immediately go back and run it through your head?
Yeah, usually you know I mean, usually when it comes to punting, I mean, you drop. The drop's the most important part of the punt. Once you drop it, you usually actually know before you can kick it whether you hit a good punt or not. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, once you swing, I mean, you don't have to look at it. Usually you can feel, just based off feeling if it's good or not. And usually sometimes, yeah, you go back and you're like, oh, I don't really know what happened, especially in the windier conditions, you know, maybe something affected some part of it, you don't know. So we have pretty good analysts for that, but people that look for us, you know, so.
For kickers, I'm sure, like, I mean, a career long or a game-winning field goal is pretty memorable for them. Is there like one punt that sticks out to you in your career that was maybe my best punt I've ever had?
Yeah, there's I think Nebraska last year. I had a couple pretty good punts. I remember one like died like on the 5, and it was like maybe like 59 or something. I don't know what it was, but it was something like that. I mean, it's just a good feeling seeing that you can hit a long ball that also pins them in like the 10. That's pretty. That stands out to me. But I don't know. I kind of just remember like the feeling of it actually coming off my leg more than like the visual thing. That's kind of more what I focus on, you know.
Well, what's Cameron like? Your long snapper.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
She's okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, she's
There you
just
go.
cool. He's a really laid back guy. Kind of a quiet kid, but if you get to know him, he's a goofball. He's definitely a very confident kid in his ability. You know, he's a great football player. He's a good snapper. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. I love him a lot.
Zoltan Mesko always said that they told him not to try to kick it hard, but he'd always try to kick the hell out of it. What's your
Zoltan.
Yeah.
That's funny. He said he tried to kick it hard.
Yeah, he said I always kick it as hard as
Really? Yeah. That's actually. I don't actually think about it. I think about kicking it like maybe 70, 80%. I think when you're trying to maybe when you play in indoor conditions, I think like and now they do in the NFL, you know, they have all these indoor stadiums. I think you could really try to swing for the fences, but like when you have the conditions affecting you, I think just a smooth swing is what gets the job done, honestly. And kicking smoothly, I mean, I think is kicking easy, you know, lighter. That's what I usually think to myself. There's a lot of, I mean, kids just punt differently and kick differently. Some kids do. I mean, you see Quinn has one of the strongest legs for sure in the country. I mean, he crushes the ball.
How far do you think you could punt it if there was no wind or you were indoors and you went 100% on it?
From the line of scrimmage, probably like maybe 65, 70. If I drove it.
What individual goals do you have this year? I mean, do you think of All-American or setting records or things like that?
Yeah, no, I don't really think about that. I've been thinking about, you know, recently I've just been thinking about like, there's a lot of negative stuff, there's a lot of positive stuff you can think about. But really when it comes down to it, I just think about the work, like just doing my routine, whether it's before practice, before a game, just kind of doing what I've been doing, same stuff, and then just going out there, you know, I'm going to do my best. And if I don't do it, then that's on me, but if I do it, then that's what I set out to accomplish. So it's not like I'm not going to take, like, if I have like a bad punt, like, oh, you know, I'm just going to move on to the next one. So my individual goals are just to be consistent, just to help the team win games, honestly, just to flip the field. Hopefully we can down more punts, you know, in the 20 this year than we did last year. But really that's all I'm looking for. I'm not trying to like go based off average or anything. I think thinking about that stuff is just extra noise.
How do you process that if you don't set foot on the field? That's probably actually a good thing.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say to me. I would like to play. I mean, I like to play. I'm not gonna say I don't like to play, but it is better, of course. Yeah, it's definitely better. You know, when the punter's not out on the field. And even last year, we really didn't punt that much. So, you know, having like just the amount of punts last year, you know, this year that'd be perfect. You know, I mean, that's really not really at the bottom towards of, you know, how many times we're punting. You know, people I don't think really realize that, but we actually really don't punt that much. Or at least last year we did. So hopefully we can keep that up this year. I wouldn't be too mad. We can win a championship. You know?
What's your evaluation of the Quinn and Jake Moody battle?
Yeah, both of them are doing really great. Both of them have, you know, heck of legs. They're just going every day, you know, 1-on-1. And you know, some days it's Jake, some days it's Quinn. You know, it's just they're both so good. And it does make them better when they're competing, but it's like it's crazy that we actually have like two guys who originally coming out of high school were like, you know, you could say like the best kickers in their class. So having 2 of those kids here at Michigan, I mean, that's crazy. So they're just making each other better. And really, I mean, it's just going to continue to be a battle, I think. So, but yeah.
Do you golf?
Do I golf?
Yeah, because everything you
Lot
talk
of
about
golf.
in terms of punting sounds so much like
No,
just golf.
no, I don't golf that much.
Okay.
But no, I know the swing's important in golf.
Yeah, I mean,
so-
you're talking about the 80%. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
very
it is similar.
Visualization.
I've heard coaches who, know about kicking or whatever. They
Throw
can,
grass to test the.
yeah, no, right. They,
Mindset's very similar.
no, they're very, they say it's very similar of a mindset, but I've never really played golf like that. So usually I'm trying to
Might try.
usually I'm trying to swing really hard when I'm playing golf.
All right.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Thank you guys.